We are back with author and ADHD consultant Brendan Mahan joins us to give us tips in overcoming the wall of awful. Okay, Ralph, come back over here. I was just talking to our executive producer during the show. We were just saying how things that we just were laissez-faire at one point during life that we didn't care about, now we're like really, because we have executive functioning skills so that we can eat.
Yeah. I was saying that I used to be much different, and now I can't go through a Saturday morning without obsessively checking all my bills were paid. So I've gone to the other end of the pendulum and fix me.
Yeah. No, but then, and I was also getting a message on my phone that said, you need to buy more storage. You're about to run out. And then I had the thought in my head, am I about to run out or do I need to clean out? And after I cleaned out thousands of things that should not even been in there, all of a sudden I had all the storage I needed. So now I'm adamant about, clean it out, delete it every day, as opposed to being stuck with having to delete 7,000 things. But that's that executive functioning skills that we talk about. All right, Overcoming the Wall of Awful, the book. People had asked you to write this book for about a decade.
Yeah. Before I do that, though, I just want to point something out that is part of the power of this wall of awful model. And you're proving it right now. It just makes it easier to talk about stuff that's hard to talk about, because it's this concrete idea, right? We're talking about bricks instead of emotions, right? The emotions are the bricks, but it makes it easier to visualize and think about, and that makes it easier to talk about. So we can help our kids, we can help our coworkers, we can help employees, we can help our friends and spouses better navigate the challenges they're facing.
Yeah. And so about 10 years, people were like, you need to write a book. I'm sure you always heard this. You need to write a book. What made you decide to sit down and write a book?
It was the burnout that I went through. I was burnt out enough that anxiety didn't motivate me anymore. Like, it didn't make me want to do something. I wasn't trying to avoid anxiety and activate. So I knew I needed to head towards something instead of away from something. And at the same time, on Twitter, back when it was still Twitter, Alex Hughes Capel, who is a ghostwriter, mentioned that some ghostwriter company had gone out of business. So ghostwriters were cheaper because there was no middleman. A friend of mine was looking for a ghostwriter, so I connected him to her. And at the same time said, can we talk about what that is and what that looks like? Because I knew I needed to get this book out there and didn't have the time to write it.
Yeah.
So Alex and I started working together. She's not a co-writer, or she's not a ghostwriter with me. She's my co-writer. And she and I have been working on this book for almost 3 years. It's been a pretty long process, but now it's here.
Yeah. And I would imagine a therapeutic process as well. As much as it can help us, it also could help you.
Yeah. When you're writing about, hey, go do the thing anyway, you kind of have to go do the thing that you're facing.
Yeah. And I love the idea of a wall, because as we know what walls mean, for centuries. All right, let's start with one, stare at the wall. A lot of us will just stare at that wall.
Yeah, and it doesn't get you past it because you're staring at it. You're not engaging with it. So you're sort of still stuck behind the wall.
Go around the wall.
Usually you end up avoiding it, right? Like you might be thinking, well, I'll mow the lawn, but first I should probably clear all the stuff off the grass, and then I'll pick up these sticks that I don't really need to pick up, and let me poke around in the shed. And I haven't mowed the lawn, and it's been 2 hours, and I ran out of time.
That's my son talking right there. Empty the trash. It's like, well, I will, but it's not motivating me right now. It's not important to me right now. Yeah. Okay. And first of all, he goes, well, I forgot, Mom. I said, but I just told you. It's like, I forgot. How do you forget when you're shoving bags on top of the trash can and it's like that's falling over on the floor and you're like, gosh, this won't stay on the top? Because it needs to be emptied. That should remind you.
And that's why it's a disorder, right?
Yeah, right.
That's the disorder part, is how come you didn't remember? Yeah.
All right. And then smash through the wall.
That's when we use anger or anxiety to activate ourselves, right? The wall is made up of all these difficult negative emotions that slow us down or repel us. Anger and anxiety are really activating emotions. Anger is going to definitely drive us through the wall. Anxiety could do either. It might drive us through the wall, or it might make us sort of run away from the wall. But so smashing is when we use anxiety and anger, these strong negative emotions, to push through the wall. And those three we just talked about, smashing, going around it, and staring at it, are fight, flight, and freeze. It's the stress response.
Yeah. All right. Then there's put a door in the wall.
Yeah, it's very similar to smashing. In the same way that smashing is changing our emotional state from this is overwhelming to grr, I'm just going to do it. Putting a door in it is changing our emotional state to something that's a little more healthy, finding feelings of motivation or feelings of confidence that I can do this, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of listening to music to put a door in my wall that often activates me, or listening to interviews with people who are successful in doing the things they love to do, because that also gets me going.
Yeah, and then climb the wall.
That's when we're facing the emotions that are in the wall and the situation at hand, right? We're just dealing with, man, I feel anxious about this. This makes me feel overwhelmed, and it reminds me of every teacher I ever had that got upset with me for not doing my math homework. And now I have to pay my bills, and it's sort of math homework, and it just brings me back to that. So let me recognize and validate these emotions and accept them so that I can move through them and pay my bills.
Yeah, and then when you move through it, how successful you feel when it's all done.
Pretty successful, yeah. And I encourage people to pay attention to that, because it's easy to miss. It's easy to get the thing done and then move on to the next thing. But if that's something you struggle with doing, taking a moment and recognizing how good it feels to have done it will help you next time when you need to access those emotions.
Yeah, I literally set a clock once, and this is years ago, but I literally set a clock and said, this took 5 minutes. I have been angsting for days over it. It took me 5 minutes and I would never have to deal with that angst. So that's kind of how I put that in place in my executive functioning piece. All right, you are living proof that it works, but right now I want to spend some time with school about to start. Your best advice for teachers, because I know teachers work so well with my son, and Bunker Hill Elementary School, thank goodness, but I know that it gets frustrating when you're a teacher in a classroom and you've got 26 kids, and then you have to stop down for a few kids who just seem to not get it. And of course, when kids don't get it, sometimes they act out to deflect from what's happening that they don't understand. So your best advice to those teachers?
My best advice is tell the kids about the wall. Tell your whole class about the wall of awful and what it is and how it works. Get the book, read it. It's a pretty straightforward concept. And now you have a language to talk to your students with about this wall, about how to navigate it and what it is. And your kids can say, yeah, I have a wall of awful for this test, or I have a wall of awful for fractions, or a wall of awful for writing, or whatever it might be. And you can help guide them past that wall.
And that can also speak to every child in the class. So instead of singling kids, feeling that they're singled out, everybody will have, it's like, what's that thing that's hard for you? It could be making up your bed in the morning, whatever, right? But everyone can have one, and we can validate that and then move on about how to get past that. All right, your best advice for parents, because as you know, your parents probably went through it with you on some things.
Yep. But so outside of the tell them about the wall and have that conversation so you can talk about stuff, and this one circles back to teachers as well. Your kids want to do well. They want to succeed. They want to please you. They're trying their best. And if it doesn't seem like those three things are true, there's probably a skill that's missing or a resource that they need. They need support. If we start with the assumption that this kid is doing their best and they want to succeed and they want to be included in the family or the classroom or whatever, our questions have to change and our answers have to change, because lazy doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Lazy implies that the kid doesn't care, and I don't believe in that. I think that lazy is an answer without a solution, so it's not that useful.
And there's a power in getting an actual diagnosis so you can start from there. This diagnosis doesn't mean you can't do something. It just means, again, like we were saying, that you might have to do some things differently. Thank you so much for writing this. Because I'm somebody who went through it, lived it myself as a child, and then, on with my own child. But thank you for this. It's probably one of the things that I get stopped and asked about the most from parents. And so now I have a book to refer to them. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Overcoming the Wall of Awful will be available on September 1st, wherever books are sold.